6. John 6. I'm going to read into your hearing verses 63 through 67. I want to start like this. Jesus is teaching in a synagogue at Capernaum. Verse 48 tells us that he's telling the audience that I am the bread of life. Verily, verily, I say unto you, except ye eat the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, ye have no life in you. Whoso eateth my flesh and drinketh my blood hath eternal life, and I will raise him up at the last day. Verse 63 says this, it is the spirit that quickeneth, the flesh profiteth nothing. The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. They are spirit and they are life. But there are some of you that believe not. For Jesus knew from the beginning who they were that believed not and who should betray him. And he said, therefore said I unto you, that no man can come unto me except it were given unto him of my Father. From that time, many of his disciples went back and walked no more with him. Then said Jesus unto the 12, will ye also go away? You can have your seats. And so last week we looked at the spiritual aspect of this. Well, God is telling all the disciples that are with him at the time, he said, look, if you really want to be a part of me, you're going to have to take on some of me. You're going to have to partake of this body of mine. And they didn't understand, nor did they care to stick around to see what it is exactly what he was talking about. Because sometimes somebody will say something, and they're leading to something greater, but we jump the gun. And sometimes what's really happening is that we're giving you a statement, or somebody's giving you a statement, seeing how you're going to react to the initial statement so that they can see whether they can reveal the rest of it to you or not. But we get so wrapped up in jumping to conclusions that we won't stick around to see what the end is or what the intent is. We won't even ask the question sometimes. And so we have disciples here that won't even ask the question, what is it that you really mean? And then the 12 are there. And he asked the 12 a question. He said, will ye also go away? And so what we found was that Christ had given requirements to stay with him. And those are the requirements that you and I as believers have to have. We have to meet those requirements. We have to meet those standards. Say amen, somebody. I have to meet his standards. I can't, because if you try and bring God down to your standards, that's exactly what you're trying to do. Because your standards, our standards are much lower than his. But he's saying this is the standard of holiness. This is the standard of living. This is the standard of following that I'm requiring at this season. Amen? So that's what we saw at a glimpse from the spiritual perspective. But I want to look at this from a natural perspective, but using this as a baseline, a template, if you would, of how I should behave in my everyday life. Is that all right? I said last week that Christ should become the template of my temperament. And what I was saying about that is saying that at some point I begin to live life, and we look at the text sometimes as if because it happened so long ago that it's not applicable to us right now. And you're saying, well, how can I deal with my everyday life looking at this text? Well, Jesus is telling us, Christ is telling us, giving us a template of how we are to measure relationships. Hello? How we should measure relationships and how we should ask certain questions at certain periods in our life to see who's really with us for this season. Because you know there are some people that are only with you for a season. There are some people that are only with you until your requirements become too much for them. Am I talking to anybody? My requirements that I'm setting in this hour mean that everybody's not going to be able to be on my team, and that's okay. So it's a matter of identity. The believer's identity cannot be predicated on man's acceptance. Let me say that one more time. That the believer's identity cannot be predicated on man's acceptance. We cannot allow, ladies and gentlemen, we cannot allow earthly affirmation to cost us eternity. Do you hear what I'm saying? And what happens is we start looking for earthly affirmation so much that we start compromising our eternity. We start compromising and saying, well, you know what? If this person likes me, maybe I don't have to live like this. Maybe I have to allow this in order for me to be in this person's company, because you understand that you're going to start withdrawing from holiness when you start like trying to hang out with the world. Now, I said you're going to start withdrawing from holiness when you start trying to live with the world. I understand. I love everybody. Get that in your head. That's fine. I love everybody. But that don't mean that I accept everything. Just because I love you does not mean, I'm sorry, contrary to popular opinion, does not mean that I have to accept everything. I can tell you that I don't accept that and still love you. Hold on, wait a minute. I still love you. I'm going to love you. I'm going to do what I can for you, but I do not have to accept this behavior. And I'm going to see if you can even accept my behavior, truth be told. Because Jesus is saying to this crowd, he said, I'm going to see if you can accept my behavior. Now, his behavior is holiness. Get that in your head. But he said, I'm going to see if you can really accept my behavior, because I picked you up when you was fishermen, when you was doing your work out in the field, and I said, come follow me. And whatever was in me, you chose to follow me. But now I got to unravel another layer of who I am. See, every time you make friends, you don't tell everybody everything about yourself right when you meet them. Hello, somebody. See, what happens is we meet people, and then we want to give them our life story right off the bat. They ain't earned nothing. They ain't been around no time. They can't meet no requirements, but you're ready to tell them everything. And then you wonder how they hurt me so fast. Because you gave too much information before the time. Does that make sense? Because sometimes you got to feed some people. I know this sounds crazy. Sometimes you got to feed people a little bit of yourself to see whether they can actually stomach you. I said, sometimes you got to feed people enough of yourself to see if they can stomach you. Here, let me just give you this little part of me and see if you can actually stomach me. And that's what he's saying. He's saying, I'm going to feed you this part of me. I am the bread of life. He's feeding them a part of him. I know you don't see it. I'm telling you what the text says. He says, I am the bread of life. I'm feeding you a little bit of me to see if you can actually stomach who I am. And when they got that bread, they said, hold on, wait a minute. I don't want that. They said, because Moses gave us bread. He said, no, Moses didn't give y'all bread. My Father gave you that. The thing that you think that your diet should be didn't even come from the person who you said it came from. You got it all wrong. And some people, you're trying to tell people about who you are, about why you came or why you're present in that life, and they can't stomach who you are. It ain't your fault. Their palate is not mature enough. Do you know children cannot eat certain food, not because they think it's gross, it's because their palate isn't mature. You try and feed a child spicy food, they're going to be like, hold on, wait a minute, what is that? They might grow up to love spicy food, but if you give it to them too early, ain't nobody in their right mind, going to sit up here and be serving their child. You know, every child, I don't know what it is about chicken McNuggets. I don't know what it is. If you don't know what your child eat, put some chicken nuggets in front of them. I don't know what it is about that, either that or fries. It's one of the two. It's a fry. I think it's because they can hold in their hand or something, right? But if you give them something that they like, they'll eat it. But sometimes they just look at it. They haven't tasted. They haven't seen. They just, I don't like the way that they look. They won't even, Now, you sit up there putting carpet in your mouth, but you won't put this food in your mouth. Oh, I'm talking spiritually if y'all here. You'll eat what's on the ground, but you won't eat what's on the plate. Never mind. I put a plate in front of you, you look grossed out, but you sit up there licking carpet and walls and windows. Nasty little buggers, ain't they? It's crazy. And so here's the thing. It's like because their palate's not mature. So it's not that they can't grow to it. It's just that their palate's not mature. So sometimes you just be like, oh, okay. I'm not in a babysitting season. And this is what Jesus said. Jesus is like, I'm not in babysitting mood no more. All right, I'm trying to raise some people up because I got work to do. I got places to go, things to do, right? And so let me see who can actually stomach who I really am. That makes sense to everybody? Now, identity is who we are and who we are becoming by grace. Who we are and who we are becoming by grace. Say, I'm becoming greater by grace. You receive that? I'm becoming greater by grace. So even who I am, you're not going to see me at this level after today. Somebody receive that in their spirit. You're not going to even see me at this level the next time that you see me because I'm growing by grace. I believe that God is increasing the grace on my life so that I can do his will, not for my fame, not for my fortune, but so that I can do the work that he's called me to do. Does that make sense? So I believe that God is constantly raising me up to do the next thing that he needs me to do. That makes sense? So it's not only who we are, but who we are becoming. Now, impression is where people first met us in life, right? And whether or not they have grown with us. I'm going to bring it back to the text. Because some people have been with you for a long time, but they haven't grown with you. Or let me restate it. Some people have known you for a long time, but they haven't grown with you. They know you as Lil Paul. Y'all remember Lil Paul? Huh? Lil Paul was bad. Got into all kind of trouble. Right? Lil John was just crazy. Lil Kevin, Lil so-and-so. Lil Diva was just crazy. Just run around, just causing havoc everywhere. That's all they know you. Lil. They know you from your former life. Or they know you from early on when you first got saved. Or they know you from your first impression. Amen. Imagine if God turned off to us at his first impression of us. I know first impressions mean a lot. You know, they're significant, right? They say first impressions are everything. No, not really. They have significance, but they're not everything. Because if you would have met me 15 years ago, you wouldn't be sitting here today if I was still that way. You were like, oh, no. You understand what I'm telling you? Oh, no, I can't deal with him. I can't deal with him. Some of y'all was 15 minutes ago, so don't be laughing at me now, okay? If you knew me outside the four walls of this church, you would. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? But so some people have an impression of us based on who we were, not who we are. Verse 42 of the same text says, and they said, is not this Jesus? Is not this Jesus, the son of Joseph, whose father and mother we know? Don't I know your people? I know they say these, this, and that one here, but don't I know your people? You know, your people just like they average, you know? Like Joseph's like a carpenter. And we don't really know how Mary got that baby. There really is something about Mary, you know? Not too sure. Oh, okay. Right? Not too sure. I don't know. But ain't your people just regular people? That's what the text saying. Whose father, mother, more? How is it then that he said, I came down from heaven? Who, you? You came down from heaven? Now, we ain't came down from no heaven, but, you know, now we got a word to speak to him. I just want to tell you something. I saw this in the text, and I just thought about you today. Oh, you trying to preach to me? Huh? Lil Joe? Huh? Lil Joe trying to preach to me? Your little nappy head self out of here. Your people was average. You used to be a bad little boy. I remember you used to always be in trouble, always getting suspended and stuff. Yeah, that was my life. Always getting in trouble and stuff. Who are you to preach to me, to tell me how to act right? Because they know who you were and not who you are. Now, Jesus is facing this even though he's never even done anything wrong. So how in the world you think you ain't going to face something and you know you done at least a couple things that's questionable? I ain't going to say that you're wrong. I don't want to offend nobody, but you know, you done some questionable things. Anybody done some questionable things? I don't know, some questionable things. You know what yours is. I ain't got to list them. And people know you to do questionable things, and we don't think that we're going to have any issues when we got a questionable past. Some of us got a questionable present, but, we got a questionable past, and we wondering why, it's hard for people to get on board with us. But here's a man who all he's been doing, he's been confounding people since he was 12. Wise men came to him when he was a baby, and they still saying, ain't you just Mary and Joseph, boy? You see what I'm saying? But it's a matter of identity. It's about knowing who we are. It's about knowing who we are and what we're sent to do, amen? We must know who we are and what we require, not as a matter of entitlement, but as a matter of self-worth. Amen? Because some people, want you to know who they are because they want you to know their title. Tell them who I am, that kind of thing, the A and the nose, I can't speak to you, I can't look at you because you're down there and I'm up here, and, you have to raise to my stature to be able to speak to me. Who in the world? You bow your head when you speak to me. What? Dude, you tripping. Kiss the ring when you come to town. What? You the Godfather now? What? You know what I mean? So people have these crazy things, but you got to know who you are. It's not a matter of entitlement so that we put ourselves on a throne. Amen? But so that I know how not to be misused. So I'm aware of my own value. I know what I'm sent to do, because the thing that has to be that has to take precedence in my life is what I am sent to do. What takes precedence in my life? Not who I am, not who I'm related to, not what my title is. What am I sent to do? Does that make sense to everybody? What am I sent to do? Because that's what Jesus goes on. He's like, I came to do the will of the Father. It don't matter what nobody else say. I know what I came to do. Jesus didn't come in demanding people call him by a title. And he's Jesus. So, you can call me Jay, Joe, Jojo, Joey, though I don't really like it. Joel, Joel, which is a proper enunciation, and I'm going to be good with that. You see what I'm saying? People ain't got to be all crazy. Oh, Pastor, I appreciate the respect, but don't ever let me, I like to mess with my auntie because he's like, I got to call you Pastor. I say, auntie, now you used to be the fun auntie that we wanted to go over her house because you let us eat cereal. We thought cereal was dessert. My mama ain't do nothing but grits and cream of wheat. You hear me? Grits, cream of wheat, and oatmeal. You hear me? Every morning. I don't know how she cooked all the time, but she cooked all the time. So when we ate cereal, we thought it was dessert, which is probably why I still eat cereal at night right now, on the low. This sweets. And so how would I get it in my head that now she got to call me, don't you call me JoJo. You call me Pastor so-and-so. And she might do it out of respect, but in the back of my mind, if I was her, who you think you is? Now, that's what I'll be looking at you. Now, for real, I did know you since you was knee-high to her. I changed your diaper with your nasty, stinking self. Right? So we don't do this as a matter of entitlement, you know what I'm saying? But a matter of self-worth. So I'm not saying this for you to get in whatever position that you think that you ought to be in and now hold yourself above people. But, okay, I got to know who I am. And more importantly, what am I sent to do? That makes sense? All right. So I remind you that, relationships thrive when identities are intact and ideas are in check. All right? So my identity has to be intact. I have to know who I am. Whatever your idea about me is, you need to make sure that it's who I actually am and not your idea. So don't go getting the wrong idea about me. If you think something about me, make sure you actually ask me before you start presuming who I am. Because if you don't know who I am, you ought to ask me. And if you've been around me long enough, I'm just talking about the text. If you've been around me long enough, it's going to be revealed to you. Hello, somebody. Now, I am not Jesus. I want to make sure that I'm not preaching that. But if you're around me long enough, you're going to, hold on, I know who you are. Does that make sense? Isn't it interesting, though, how the people that are closest to you, it's like an organic kind of a thing. You just kind of gravitate toward them people. They ain't nothing like they got to announce, I'm your best friend. Why you had to tell me that? Because I didn't know, because I didn't really. Right? Anybody ever try to tell you y'all was best friends? Like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't get the memo. But that didn't happen to nobody? Okay, I'm just wondering if I'm the only one. We best friends. Oh, wow. Where was I? Because you cool, but you know what I mean? But who we are, it ought to be something that's a while. We don't have to, it just becomes. It makes sense. I start following Christ, and then he becomes more and more to me. And then I start being like, hold on, you're not just Christ, but you're Jehovah Jireh. You're not just Christ, but you're Jehovah Rapha. You're Jehovah Sikkenu. Huh? You're Jehovah Nisi. What? What? You're Yahweh, my provider. That's the longer I walk with God, I feel that thing in my system. The longer I walk with you, the more I know you. I didn't know you as my healer until I got sick. Hello, somebody. I didn't know you as my provider before I start lacking. When I lack, that's when I found that you were my provider. It's not that I want to lack. Hello. But when I start lacking, I say, Yahweh is my provider. I know that I can lean on you to provide for me. Huh? I know that you are the Lord of hosts. You handle a whole bunch of my problems. All of my problems. That makes sense? So the more it's interesting in Scripture that as the people, the men of God that we read about are going through time, that they build altars based on their experiences. I'm going to get back on task. But they built altars based on their experience. Abraham built an altar when he had an experience. Huh? Noah builds an altar when he has an experience. That makes sense? So they start building altars based on their experience, and they call the altar the experience that they had. I know him to be Yahweh, my provider, because when I was ready to give the promise away, he gave me a ram instead. That makes sense? So he provided for me when I needed him to. But I had to get to a point. I didn't find out that he was my provider on the bottom of the mountain. Never mind. Y'all ain't even hearing what I'm saying. I didn't find out he was my provider until I had used all of my strength to climb. I didn't find out who he was. I didn't find out this level of who he was until I had to climb to go get it. So if you don't climb up, you're not going to get to the next level in Christ. Hello, somebody. Sometimes you got to climb to find out who he is. Because what he said, we're going yonder to worship. He had to climb to find that next level. He had already been speaking with God. Am I talking about the text? He had already had interaction with God. He heard from God for real. But until he made that climb, willing to make the sacrifice with the climb, not just the climb, but the climb, willing to make the sacrifice. That's when he got to the next level. That's when he found out he was Yahweh, Yahweh. That makes sense? So sometimes you got to go a distance with somebody before you find out who they really are. You find out who people really are when you get in trouble with them. Because either they're going to fight or they're going to flight. You know who got your back for real when they got your back for real. You know who don't got your back when you look around, you're like, well, I guess I'm by myself. Right? Anybody ever feel that? You thought somebody was for you, but then you look behind you like, I'm still got to fight, even though I'm by myself. But then some of us were surprised about the people who stuck around. You didn't think they was a fighter because you had never put them in a situation where they had to be. I don't know if they'll fight for me. Put me in the right situation to see what happened. Oh, no, you ain't going to fit, you got to have that walk when you get home. Oh, no, you ain't finna talk about my person like that. My homegirl, oh, no, come on now. They ain't finna happen. But you don't know that. You don't know who will fight for you until you get put in that situation sometimes. Amen? But we find out who people are as we go on in our life. But I think in this time, we become so dismissive, man. We're ready to dismiss somebody at a moment's notice. They look at you halfway wrong. See, I knew you weren't about nothing. Why you even looking at me like that? If you knew who I was, and then don't let them be saved, because then they're going to tell you about all their anointing. If you knew the anointing of God on my life, okay. Okay. Wow. But we really have to know we can't have the wrong idea. And if you have an idea about me, why don't you ask me so that we can both be right? We both can get it right. What's your idea about me? No, that's not who I am. Well, I thought, let me correct your thinking. Because remember when they had the situation and they was like, oh God, come on, bring down 5 brimstone. He's like, I didn't come to cause no harm. I came to bring life, and that they may have it more abundant. You got it all wrong. You got the wrong idea about me, but they didn't leave when he told them who he was. So the people who are really going to be with you are not going to leave when you tell them who you really are. I said the people who are really with you are not going to leave you when you tell them who you really are. So he says, no, I know y'all think that that's what I came for, to just get rid of everybody that aggravates me, because the people, they were just aggravated. Just aggravated. Oh, God, come on, get rid of them. Shoo them away. No. Blessed are the little children. You got to change your mind about me. Huh? Well, God, come on, bring distraction. No. I came to love. I got to change your mind about me. That make sense to everybody? So, real talk. Sometimes we are not the people who people expect us to be. And that's okay. We're not the people that people expect us to be, and that's okay, because sometimes people got the wrong expectations. They wanted Jesus to be militant when he was the Messiah. You got the wrong idea about me. So sometimes people think, well, you too serious. I just know what I'm called to do. And anything that's outside of that call, I'm just not dealing with right now. In this season of my life, if it's outside of what God wants me to do, I'm just not dealing with it in my life. It's not you, it's me. It's not you, it's me. See what I'm saying? Crazy. So we need to be prepared to discover who believes not and who will betray. Who believes not, or who doesn't believe, and who will betray. So as we're going on, now we've got all these people, and he set out these parameters where all these people have left. So who's going to believe? When you start telling them, hey, you know what, this is what God is telling me to do right now, some people going to believe you and some people not. And you discover who really believes you. God called me to be this, great. You're going to find out who really believes you and who really doesn't, right? So God called me to do this. God is telling me to do this. We got some stuff coming up. I've been talking about the Acts Church for at least a couple years now. I said, when we get to that point, I'm going to release it. It ain't a secret. It's just we got to get to that point. Hello? You'll only find out if we get there. Hello? Well, why won't you tell it now? We got to get to that level. Hello? Why would I bother telling you now we ain't even in position? Oh, you holding secrets. Ain't nobody holding secrets. We ain't there yet. Hello? You know what I mean? But we got to find out who's going to believe us and who's going to betray us. Because certain people, when you tell them who you are, you ain't got to worry about them because they're going to leave you anyway. And you're going to know that they never believed you in the first place. They was along for the ride of their idea. And as soon as you gave them the identity, they had to leave with their idea. You ain't going to stick around me with your idea of me. I'm telling you that right now, not me. And so I'm trying to empower some people today that you ain't going to stick around me. You got to say that for yourself. You ain't going to stick around me with the wrong idea. You're going to know exactly who you're dealing with. Does that make sense? Ideas better stay in check, ladies and gentlemen. So who going to betray us? Now keep in mind, knowledge of imminent betrayal is not automatic grounds for dismissal. Because check this out. Though all them disciples left, 12 stayed there. That means Judas will stick around for the next level. I don't think that you heard me. I said Judas will stick around for the next level. Judas sticks around for the next level because he's got to push you beyond that level. If you dismiss Judas too early, you ain't going to get to the level that you're supposed to get to because you dismissed Judas too early. You got to let Judas stick around, even if you know who they are. I don't know. You know, because Jesus was letting everybody know, you got to take up my body. You got to eat of my flesh. I am the bread of life. And Judas was like, I'm going to stick around. So don't think that betrayers are going to leave you when you identify yourself, your betrayers are going to latch on. Let me say it one more time. I said when you tell people who you really are, that's when your betrayer will latch on. And you cannot dismiss them before it's time. You're going to mess up your promotion, dismissing betrayers. So I posted, they bless my whole soul. We so dismissive. We so dismissive, right? We so dismissive that we ready to tell our enemies, to kick our enemies to the curb, right? And they were saying this, and it made me laugh in my little spirit, because they said, no, see, God sets a table before me in the presence of my enemy so you can watch me eat. I love that thing. Oh, no, you just finna watch me eat. That's all. And some of y'all get that on both levels. I mean, I'm just going to eat right here in front of your face. Y'all live. Huh? You want this communion, though? Let me wash your feet. Let me wash your feet before you go betray me. Can I take this side note? I want you to be clean so that when you leave my presence, you have to get yourself dirty. No, let me make sure that before you, God help me here, before you leave me, I'm going to make sure that you clean. So that when you get in the mess that you're about to get in, that's on you. You hear what I'm telling you? Some people can't palate you because they're not mature enough. They cannot stomach you because their palate is not mature. And some people will eat with you for ages, before you bring them before that one table. There's always that one table where you're going to see who really got the cards, right? Who really got, what everybody holding. It makes sense? And Jesus sitting there. Now, this is the Joe Polk version. All right, this is not a scripture. This is just Joe Polk version. All right, you know, I like to think that they were sitting at their table playing cards, whatever their card game was of the day. He like, I never see your hand. I never see your hand. I never show hand. I never see your hand. Play your cards. You know what I'm saying? Play your cards. And Jesus like, I've got the joker. And he's wild. It's crazy. But let's move on. It's a matter of commitment. It's a matter of commitment. Commitment is a product of fidelity proven over a process of time. Commitment is a product of fidelity proven over a process of time. You got to go through a process with me. I can't think that you're faithful just because we don't know each other for 2 days. It's a process. Even when we get into marital and familiar type situations where we believe that person is going to be faithful, that faithfulness is proven over time. Hello? Because you start with belief that there's going to be fidelity, and then fidelity is proven over time. Hello? So God has proposed to us. Hello, somebody, you the bride. He has proposed to you, hoping that you'll be faithful over time. Does that make sense to everybody? So when you said I came into when you say I accept him as my Lord and Savior, you took his ring. You took a promissory ring that said that I am betrothed to you until you call for the wedding. That means despite everything that's tempting that looks better than you. Because some things, hello, ladies and gentlemen, some things look better than God. But they're not better than God. Some things will make your flesh tingle, but you know better. It's an emotional arousal, but you know there's nothing spiritual about it. It might be a financial gain, but there's nothing on the faith side of the house. Hello? So he's saying, I know that you're going to see a better looking husband. Oh, Lord, y'all ain't hearing me. I know you're going to see a better looking husband. I'm just trying to tell you, you want this eternity, you're going to have to eat this body, though. I know you're going to see a husband that's going to offer you riches, because remember, the devil took Jesus and was like, look at all the things that I can offer you. So don't think that you're going to have somebody in your life that'll take you to heights. Because The enemy will take you to heights to promise you things that you will experience. See, this is the thing that if you know Revelation, the devil has power to give. Y'all ain't hearing what I said. I said that the devil has power to give. So sometimes the enemy will offer you a position, and if you're foolish enough, you'll take a position that you already had. Because when he tries to take Christ to the height of a church, he's like, I'll give you all this. And in my mind, Christ is like, really? I'm the King of kings. What kingdom you going to offer me? What church you going to offer me? You going to offer me bread? That shall not tempt the Lord thy God. Hold on, wait a minute. I am the bread of life. You know why he didn't need bread? Because he was. Never mind. You hear what I'm saying? But that's because when you know who you are, nobody can fool you, even in the heights. Nobody can fool you when you know who you are. Nobody can offer you something that'll make you go off character when you know who you are. You won't compromise when you know who you are. I want to talk to a couple of people who know who they are and are not willing to compromise for anybody. I remind you that depth can either create a disconnect or build devotion. It's going to do one or the other. And complexity will reduce some people's interest, and complexity will exhaust some people's involvement altogether. So we've seen that in the text where sometimes people are willing to, your complexity to be like, you know, you're really interested. Let me stick around and see what you're really about. And then sometimes your complexity, because we don't like to deal with difficulty, most people, the minute you start telling them about your complications, I don't know if I really want to be with you. You know, they was with you when you was fine, right? When you was fine and you know what I'm saying, you look like you had a little something. They just caught you dressed well. You know, you normally dress down, but they saw you in your little dress like, ooh, look at you. You look so good. Hi. That's why I'm glad I met my wife the way I met her. She don't like me tell the story. I tell it all the time. My wife was working. You hear me? And I ain't talking about that no little mall job and her cute little outfit. No, she was digging a ditch. You hear me? We were working construction. She was digging. I couldn't, you know what I'm saying, all them baggy, dirty clothes. I was like, ooh, Lord, help me. Holy Ghost. I wouldn't even say it, but I was probably saying something like that. But in the element, I saw who, you know what I'm saying, I saw there was nothing put on. So I was like, if that's causing me that kind of attraction with nothing on, I can't even imagine what happens. See, what happens is we put on stuff before people see us, for real. And then when you take it off, you wondering why they like, ugh, I didn't know. Who that? Huh? I tell a story all the time. I never wanted to wake up one morning. Ah! Baby, go put on your face. That's me. There ain't no judgment. I'm just saying. I wanted to know who I was dealing with. For real. I tell people this too. I used to age my wife. I used to look at her like, how's she going to look when she look older? Because I'm planning on growing that way with her. I used to age her. How's she going to look when she get like 50, 60, 70? Because I'm making plans. I'm not married to my idea of who she is, of who I want her to be. I'm married to her identity, and I understand that she's going to mature, and I'm going to mature too. So I don't want to be married to no little girl when I'm an old man. Never mind. Y'all ain't got to like this. I'm just telling you what it is. That's why all these old dudes trying to marry these young girls, because you don't realize you lost your identity. You don't lost your mind. You still want to play with Barbie dolls, little boy. Anyway, I'm sorry. That was a little personal. Sorry. Come back down. See what I'm saying? Let me get through this. I had a thought about growing with people. Y'all bear with me. I had a thought about growing with people, and I kind of aligned it with archaeology. Stick with me. Because you'll see in archaeology something sticking out the ground, and something either was there or is there, but you got to dig it out to find what it really is. So I wonder what happens to people when they really think that they're digging you. Because if you keep digging, you're going to find what the structure is like beneath the surface. And when you find what the structure is like beneath the surface, it's going to be more than what met your original eyes. And I wonder, when you really think you're digging me, when you find what's buried down, are you going to like it? When I start being like, okay, you done stuck with me this long, now let me see if you're ready to go to this level. No, I can't deal with you right there. Good, bye. I already got to deal with a betrayer, so you can go. Huh? You see what I'm saying? So that's kind of how I thought. I was like, because you are more than meets the eye. You more than a pretty face or a handsome face. You more than your job. You more than your career. Hello? You're more than the children that you have. Hello? You're more than the family that you came from. Hello? I don't care if there was a prominent family. You're more than that. So to get to know you, I'm going to have to be around you through many seasons, even the difficult ones, even the ones where I have questions. Are y'all hear me? Because sometimes we got to go through a season of questioning. I know this, but I haven't found out that about them yet. But let me see if they really are worth sticking with. Hello? It's a matter of endurance. There is worth in a while. We have to be willing to ask the tough questions in order to maintain covenant relationships. I got to ask you the tough questions. I got to tell you some things, and maybe when I tell you this, you might look at me differently. And maybe the way you look at me now, maybe it wasn't your idea. Maybe now you've changed your mind about me. Now when I told you all the things that I've done to get to the levels that I'm at, maybe you don't want to go through that. Everybody sees the success, but don't want to deal with what sucks. Hello? Oh, I see you preaching, Doc. Do you know? Okay. All right. We see platforms, and I was talking with a good friend of mine about this. People see platform, and they automatically get this picture in their head. You say pastor, they think you got money. I don't know why, right? I said, do you know that, we see the big wigs, we see the people with names, and we know that they're doing well for themselves, and I ain't speaking nothing against them. But your average church, and you can look up the statistics, your average church is about 100-something people, right? Which means that most pastors are working for themselves. And they still trying to do stuff in the community. They still trying to do stuff for the church, amen. Buildings got to get built. People got to, light bills got to get paid, all that kind of stuff where money is involved or whatever. And people be like, oh, I know they doing well. Huh? Little do you know they going in debt trying to keep the church up. It's crazy, but will you stick around? What if I told you I was willing to let my own credit take a 100-point hit just to get the church and where it needs to be? That's a true story. That's a true story. Most people be like, I couldn't do that because you didn't have 100 points to give. I ain't judging. You was happy to see 600. I was mad when I got to the 7s. I'm just being real. Like, ugh. But I got to get all them inquiries, right? So this is not to applaud me. I'm just telling you, I'm saying that, do you really want to know what's going on? Are you going to stick around then to see what the real end going to be? And I'm not comparing myself to Christ, but what I'm saying is I use him as my template to be like, let me see how many people are really going to be around once I start unveiling some stuff. Once I start telling them how complex this thing really is. This ain't just about showing up to church and smiling and clapping hands. What if I start telling you that you're going to have to put your hand to the plow, or you're going to stick around, or you're going to sit down elsewhere? Never mind. And there are people in your businesses, there are people in your dreams that you got to know who's really going to be with you, who's going to be on your staff, and who's going to leave. And then if there's somebody on your staff, they're probably dipping in the stash. You understand what I'm telling you? The question is, are you ready to let anyone walk away? Not some false sense of holiness, but a testament to our commitment to God. I'll let anybody walk away from my life that wants to. you can go if you want to. I mean that from my heart. You got to be willing to tell everybody in your life, say you can leave if you want to. We've got to come to a place in our salvation where we can really say that to anybody. Anybody. You can leave if you want to. I know what I'm called to do. You can leave. This is what Jesus said. He's like, will ye go also? Y'all can be going if you want to, but I got to do the will of the Father because I'm committed. I know who I am. I know what I'm called to do, and I got the endurance to do it. Let me know. I don't know what your testimony might be, but I'm going to tell you these things about me, and I'm out your way. I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to push you, and sometimes you're going to want to quit. I'm going to push you, and you're going to feel uncomfortable. Amen? I'm going to push you, you're going to be uncomfortable. I'm going to let you know that Rome does not get a pass because we got a relationship. No matter how close you, ask him. I don't care how close you get to me. If you off, I'm going to tell you. If I don't like something you're doing, I'm not going to hide behind the facade of some kind of wrong relationship. Be like, I'm not going to tell you because I want to stay friends with you. No, I'm going to tell you what's right. And if you decide that you can't stick around no more, well, then your season's up and I'm going to keep it moving. And here's the thing, too. If you decide to walk away in this season and come back in the next season, I'm going to welcome you back in. Oh, hold on, wait a minute. I don't like that because we dismissive. But what happens when you tell the one that had the revelation about you, the one that said, thou art the Messiah, Peter? What if you have to tell the one that really got revelation about you, you're going to deny me 3 times? Because not only are you going to have a betrayal, but you're going to have a denier that used to be a believer. I know you're going to do it. I know you're going to deny me. You're going to do it 3 times. Never. Okay. Never. And they'll be bothered in front of the right crowd. We dress that, right? Around soldiers, you're a fisherman. And around soldiers, you draw swords. Like what? That's what Peter did. Peter's a fisherman. Soldiers came around, he like, what's up? Do something. But then a little servant girl came around and said, ain't you one of... No, I don't know. Jesus who? But will you call them back and say, you know what? Come on. Because I still got something for you to do. Just as willing as you are to be dismissive in the right faction, you got to be willing to be restored. You got to be willing to restore somebody. Hello? We've got to really have it in our mind that we will let people go if we have to. How is this staying power? How is this staying power? Staying power means that I've got to give people the tools to remain in my life or to leave my life. Because I've got to determine who's going to really be with me in this level of ministry, at this level of life, at this level of business. You don't let everybody in the CEO, even business people know how to do this, right? If you work in the mailroom, I promise you ain't getting invited to the CEO meeting. They ought to let me know, no, you're not at that level. And there's some people in the mailroom of your life that you've been putting in boardroom decisions. They're in the mailroom and you don't put them in the boardroom. And that's on you. Because you didn't draw out the language. You didn't say very plainly, no, if you want to be, I'm not saying that you can't gravitate to this level, but if you really want to be on this level with me, again, this does not give us a license of malice, right? But it's just letting people know who we are. Jesus let us know. So we make sure that we got this thing right. Jesus let us know who he really is. He's not a helpless baby in a manger. He's not a 12-year-old child confounding the wise. He is not a man that he should lie. He is sitting on the right hand of the Father, making intercession for us, and he still has the standards that he left with. And if we don't live by them, then we won't get to that next level of life called eternity. Hello? So why can't we use that in our everyday life when we're dealing with people? If you can't meet these requirements, it's not that I think that I'm better than you. It's just that this is what I'm requiring for you to remain in my life in this season. Did you learn anything? Give God praise all over this place.